What is up, everyone? Welcome to Cannabis Pros and Marketing Masters podcast, hosted by the Beard Bros Network. My name is Nigel Despinasse, and today we have Greg Dunaway with us. Greg, I'm trying to even think of where to start with this. Greg is a lover of cannabis, a lover of animals, a lover of people. He is head of consulting over at Maple Creek Consulting. He's co-owner and CMO at Cult Cannabis Company, a cannabis company based out of Arizona. And he's honestly just like all in all great soul. Like Greg and I have worked together. We've stayed in touch as you live a bunch of different lives in the cannabis industry. And I really genuinely don't have enough nice things to say about Greg. And even beyond nice, just like, you know, I don't even know what can go beyond nice and kind, but like he's the man, like in all respects. So
Dude,
Greg, thank you for joining us, brother.
fine.
Give him a little intro.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to fucking top that. I got my start in cannabis many moons ago. I did the whole corporate world thing, did marketing for cultivation out here in Arizona. Got recruited to the company where I met you, Glide. I think you're probably employee fucking 10. I was like number 3 or 4. And we had a good thing going for a good while there. We were selling equipment, honestly, across the world, which is pretty crazy to think about now. All the way into Europe and the UAE. And then after that company collapsed, which was unfortunate, I set up my own shop, Maple Creek, where I kind of help advise other equipment companies. And then I started fucking Barrio with Justin, a buddy of ours, another mutual buddy of ours, another amazing guy. And then again, over probably another podcast, that company fell apart. Through no cause of our own, actually. It's a good lesson in looking at who you get in fucking bed with. And then, we started Cult, which is this guy right here. There it is. There's my promo. And Cult is an indoor premium brand out here in Arizona. And I'm, again, as you said, co-owner, CMO, probably CRO now. I'm handling sales and everything. But I mean, what the fuck don't you do in a startup? So anyway, thank you for the nice intro, buddy. And right back at you. One of the best guys in cannabis.
I appreciate that. Give the people a show on your shirt. Show us what you're rocking with on the shirt. I should have worn mine. I regret not.
Yeah. No, we're so poor that like we don't move a ton of merch. But anytime I'm out at a bar or whatever, someone will be like, "Is that some fucking like new thing out of like Fashion Square Mall?" And I'm like, "No, it's a cannabis brand. Please, you can buy the shirt for like $20. Please buy it." But
I was about to say, here's the link. Please take it. Here's a QR code.
I literally have a fucking QR code. It's like, I'll give you 2% off if you buy my fucking hat. But actually, I love the brand. I'm really proud of it. I think genuinely it's probably the best brand I've been a part of. I like Barrio a lot. I like Glide. I thought Glide was slick for a while too. But I think this one has a lot of potential if we can not fuck it up.
I totally agree. I don't think you guys are going to fuck it up. I think it is solid brand, solid voice. The imagery you guys use is awesome. The first time that I came across it, I was wowed because, there's so many different, the thing about a brand that I think is really important is like, how big can you make the universe? And like, how many people can you invite into that and them enjoy it? And with Cult, I feel like you can range it in a bunch of different directions. America in general, American culture has always been fascinated with cults. Like, I can't even give you enough of the documentaries that I watch that are around it. Anyone watching should go watch Wild Wild Country, one of the best. And like, honestly, yeah, go for it.
So wild fucking coincidence. So before I got into cannabis, like right on the edge of it, I was still writing scripts for Hollywood and TV and stuff like that. Did I tell you this story? So like right before I was in Hollywood pitching a show, this must have been like 2016, 17, maybe 15. And I was pitching a show called Cult City USA, all about cults throughout America. And the only reason it was really close to getting picked up by like A&E, but right then that Scientology show came out with Leah Remini. So just like, oh, she's way more fucking famous. So weirdly, like I have an absurd knowledge of cults, which really does not. This brand is kind of like we dance on toe on the line of it because we're not like going to be like, hey man, fucking we're Jim Jones, like in here. But on the other hand,
it's like using broad cult imagery to push forward the brand itself. Yeah, no,
Exactly.
I get
It's been weird, obscure, esoteric, like that kind of thing. And I'll be the first to admit it, dude. I don't know that we've got it completely dialed in. You know, we've gotten the ban hammer from fucking Instagram twice. So a lot of the art that kind of historically we've kept has gone by the wayside. By the way, congrats on getting Beard Bros back.
yeah.
Yeah, what a journey.
Yeah, who are you
but yeah, to
telling,
your
man?
point, like it just was so random when we came up with Cult. I was like, fuck, I know quite a bit about this subject, which was just weird.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's like so one of the questions that I had for you, because again, I also really like when I worked at BDSA, I was pretty active in terms of monitoring Arizona's market performance.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a couple of things make Arizona a really standout market. Um, one, you have like brands that are, mom and pop all the way to MSO that are out there.
yeah,
That goes the same for dispensary doors, right? You have some players who are vertical and like have really large operations that they've got going on with maybe not the biggest retail footprint. And then you also have like a hyper competitive nature in the market where, I watched in real time as the prices went up and then down, and then, basket sizes got bigger while overall spend got smaller in terms of, kind of BOGO madness and things like that. So I think the big thing, and like we're going to go through a couple different stuff on the episode, but for you, what I am so interested in is the moat that is a brand. Because if you build an image of quality in your consumers' eyes, they'll go to war for you. And I mean, the Zona Ents,
Oh, man.
Reddit page is one of those where I was talking to Justin about this, where Justin is also co-founder at Cult, who we were referencing earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
For all those
couldn't
who
have
are like,
thought
who
of
is
two.
this dude? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are they
But that's one
talking
of the
about?
things where I came across it, and people really are like barbarians at the gate for the brands that they ride for. So like I just kind of wanted to ask you initially, like when people ask you about Cult, like what's the story that you tell them? What's like the lore that exists behind the brand?
Yeah, and I think that's changed a little bit, like because I think one of the things that I'm learning is that in my earlier years, I was probably a lot more inflexible than I am now. To be quite honest with you, we were asked to give it a presentation by a big MSO that picked us up, and we
Yeah.
just went in there. We're like, let's just fucking tell them the truth. Like, so we went in there and we're like, look, like we're the last of a dying breed. We're a bunch of guys who are actual Arizonans. We're not fucking parachuting in from California and pretending to be, a Cali brand when everybody knows the way the rules are. Like, you're still getting your shit grown by a bunch of Arizonans. Like, so
Yes.
we're grower owned. We're independent. When we think of Cult for us, like it really means like the cult of quality, the cult of cultivation, the cult of cultivars. And we're very upfront
Mhm.
with people like, look, this may not work. Like our hypothesis is that the market still wants independent quality cannabis, despite everyone and their mother telling us that, you're fucked.
All price.
So, so like I think that honesty is the best policy. And I think while we have fun with like the imagery and the artistry, like that was really the first time like the deck was kind of funny. I'll have to kick it over to you. It was kind of funny. We were like, here's us at Barrio. Like we turned this company around in 3 months and then shit went sideways. Like enter Cult. And like
Right.
we kind of made jokes about it. Like, and I think if you have enough either confidence and or fucking craziness to tell the truth, the lore kind of creates itself a little bit.
Builds itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is like I really like the inflexibility to flexibility standpoint that you're talking about, because as I think branding has evolved in general, people jive with brands, and especially like, this age where the Wendy's TikTok page is like commenting on like, viral fights and stuff like that, and like being relatable. I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing in branding these days, and like the realness of being like, hey, we're not like one static thing, we're a dynamic entity that is just, our main focus is delivering you quality, which
Right.
I always tell people it's like 80-20 rule for cannabis, because most of the people who are consuming are your repeat, your searchers, your individuals who are looking for either quality, or the two ends of the spectrum are quality seekers and bargain seekers.
Yeah.
And you guys came in to say that's totally cool that that side exists, but we're here for the people who are looking for the fire, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
and
so
it's
I love
and
that.
it's fucking it's thank you, but it's difficult. Like, I mean, the pressures that you talked about earlier, and I'm happy to circle back about it, but like those
Yeah,
pressures are incredibly real in terms of how much pressure you get from those stores that choose to carry you about where your price point is, where it can be, what your margin is. Like, so it is exceedingly difficult. Arizona, I know, is better than some other states, probably worse. We know it's worse than some other, or better and worse than other states. But those are
right.
like if you want to like boil it down to the real, it's basically how do you react to those market forces when you don't actually have like a there's no recourse. I can't really be like if someone picks me up and they have fucking 40 doors, I can't be like no. Like,
Yeah,
or if I do, I better have another 40 like on the back of it. So no matter how creative and fun I want to get on the marketing side, like there's the other part of it. If you're in a startup like brand, I mean, you know this, dude, like, you wear 800 hats, and it would be
of course.
crazy for me to come on to like your podcast and be like, it's so cool that I get up every day and get to focus on marketing. It's like, dude, I've been trying to run a fucking t-shirt contest for like the last 2 weeks. I have all these designs and shit. It's been 14 fucking days. I haven't gotten it up and running just because, like, that's the nature of stuff.
That's how it works. You know,
Yeah.
it's like and I think the thing that is undersold in cannabis is the strength that you have by being that nimble and small shop.
Oh yeah.
Because you deal with MSOs. We at our previous gigs together, we've dealt with large companies who, you have a million lines of red tape to roll through. You've got to jump hoops, and that's something that I think is really good on you and Justin's end is that you guys have a vision for where you want to bring it. But like the terrain is always changing, right? So like you're
Dude.
constantly battling an obstacle course that has like it's like not like American Ninja Warrior almost, you know what I mean? Where you're like jumping on balls and like trying to swing through things and everything, and everything is trying to knock you off. But the mission that you guys have is what keeps you pushing through it, regardless of
Yeah.
how the way to
Yeah.
get there changes.
Yeah, and I think it'd be like I've toyed with the idea of like one of the because the second that you do any kind of marketing, you're putting yourself at risk with like Instagram or Meta or whoever else you're fucking with. But I do
For
think it's
sure.
interesting that like we don't like in our space from like a storytelling perspective, we don't do the best job about being real about how hard things are. Like one of the funniest things that cracks me the fuck up is I go onto Reddit and they're just like these fucks in their Lamborghinis, blah blah blah, driving around. I'm like, dude, if you only knew that we're negotiating over fucking like 1550 a jar, like it's like, and we don't do a good job, I think, of letting people in. And part of that is because we don't have the fucking time. But we were like, I'll give you an example, dude. I think you knew we're moving from Tucson to Phoenix, right? So
Yes.
you would think
Talked
in
to
any
Justin
other
about that in
business,
Arizona.
yeah, like you'd think in any other business, hey, probably sucks. Like you're relocating. For those people who don't know Arizona, like call it 120 miles. Definitely
Mhm.
different communities completely. So you got to figure out your people, you're this, you're that. Doing that in cannabis, like the only way I can describe that is basically you're like, I'm gonna get in a fucking sailboat from New York and I'm gonna end up in London and I'm gonna chop my arm off halfway through. Like it's a regulatory nightmare. It is like trying to operate out of two facilities. At one point, dude, we are today having to operate
It's
out of three
3, right?
facilities. Yeah, three.
Yeah, yeah,
Operating out
yeah.
of three facilities. Like I and again, like I think that there's an opportunity there, but right now, if I go when like if I went up to like one of our cultivators, like, hey Andrew, how are we feeling about the move today? He'd be like, I'm gonna fucking punch you in the face. It's like, all right, good talk. That was some good marketing there. They really knocked it out of the park. But anyway, to bring it back to my point, like I do think like there's a lack of and actually, you know who does this fucking well is someone who I'm hanging out with today is my boy Jason Washington does it super well. I've seen him on Instagram. He'll be like 4 a.m. because he packs his own stuff, and he's
Yeah.
literally just there like this is the actual life. And I think that there's a little bit of that we could probably all do. Because, dude, trying to explain to my mom about why, like, hey, how's things at work, and you're like talking to someone who has non-cannabis, and you're just like, I don't even know where to fucking start.
It's a
Or
nightmare to them.
yeah, well, I think that they're like, oh, you must be making oodles of money, and you're like, no, I'm just stupid, actually.
That's exactly it. I had
Yeah.
a discussion with my mom the other day, kind of around just like the state of cannabis as it is, and she like got to the point where she was almost begging me to leave because it's we're in an industry that is not filled with stability. It's changing, every other month in terms of where things might be going. You can, maybe 5 years ago, you could have said legalization federally might happen in 5 years. And then you get to today and it is nowhere near that. Right.
It's not even close.
So it's all of us who have this like statist masochistic approach to like just choosing to do this because we love it. Like I wouldn't choose to do anything else in the sense that I love working with people like you. That is the thing that makes it fun and keeps it going, is because only the weirdos choose to stay here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is like
Yeah.
a calling card. I mean, it's the weirdos and the people who are trying to screw over the weirdos is pretty much the two categories that kind of exist in cannabis,
The weirdos and those getting fucked by the weirdos. I love it.
That's exactly it.
And
That's
I think
exactly it.
and I think the other thing about cannabis is that like, and I think you know this about me too, is that like there's always kind of that tantalizing upside, right? Like for me,
Mhm.
getting the chance to go look at the EU markets, getting a chance to kind of see where the new forefronts are, like, and all that. And I had a conversation not a week ago with somebody in Germany who I'd known, who was like, "Hey, that Cult Translate here, that would be a really cool fucking opportunity for us." I'm like, "Make me an offer, buddy. Hey, Cult
Please.
Berlin sounds dope. I'm in."
That does sound dope.
Yeah, so like, and that's the great thing about going over there and like staying dialed in. I toured a grow, and I'm friends with the guy who owns a grow in the Netherlands. Where the relationships are completely different. The government in Italy is like, "Hey, Nigel, we need you to grow 6.5 tons. Don't fuck it up." And you're just like, "Holy shit! Like, I need to grow 6.5 tons." But that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what a cool relationship to have. Versus here, you're kind of like in the U.S. They're like, the government gives no fucks about you. If anything, you're an annoyance. Good luck
Yeah.
operating. We have a regulatory body that probably has no business regulating cannabis, like, whether it's some fucking like some economic thing, some fucking specialty marijuana thing, some fucking, in our case, DHS. Like, so it's just,
Yep.
I think anyway, to wrap up my point, I want to get too far off. It's like we do kind of constantly, because the industry's new, we always do see the next big thing or the next
Yeah.
opportunity, which is really a cool thing about us. But the problem is like in the meantime, we're getting our fucking heads kicked in every day, just
100%.
operating. I think, and again, I really do think that we as a collective industry don't do a very good job of showing what that day to day is like. I mean, I'm sure like when you and I hang out, we have infinite stories to tell each other, but I do realize that like we do a pretty shitty job of telling other people about those stories.
Explain those stories to outsiders, because that is
Right.
honest to God. Like I have people who will constantly ask me. I'm living in Louisiana right now, right? So like
Yeah.
all of the people who I'm surrounded with are people that I grew up with or people that I know by proxy of those folks. So when I say I work in cannabis, everyone gets googly eyed and they're like, "Oh my God, life must be so sweet," ripping bong and talking about pot all day. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm like, you guys have no idea. You have like a friend who's in tech and they live the cushiest lifestyle ever. And
Yeah.
it's not even close to that in this, it's you face your war stories. I mean, I was explaining to somebody the other day how in essence I have hop jobs once a year for the past like 5 years. And
Which is
in
hard.
no job market does that ever look good.
No.
But it's the truth of how it works. It's like rinse cycles for companies. People make bad decisions in terms of their investment or kind of the approach that they take to the market, or something shifts on a dime, and like that money runway just tightens up, and then you go, I don't know what's next, and then boom, assets get sold off. That's just kind of how it works.
Well, I think the other thing too is that like if you're, and this is another area that I've randomly had some experience in, which whether it goes from like trying to save GrowGlide and talking to investors who had shitloads of money to like starting Colt, where your options are so fucking limited. Like if you honestly want to start a cannabis company and or brand right now with the environment that we're in, like good fucking luck. Like
Right.
we lucked out, and I think luck is always where opportunity meets like hard work. So Colts, and
For
I think
sure.
your viewers will probably find this story interesting. Fuck it, if not, I'm going to tell it.
Yeah, do it.
The way that Colt started was essentially we had Barrio Cannabis, and when we had our falling out with the guys who like were the pseudo investors of Barrio.
Mhm.
um, you know how nobody ever like when you have a page on your website that says like contact us, and like no one ever
Yeah.
fucking like does that or like even checks that email. I
Yeah.
checked that email randomly, like right before shit went down, and it was this family that was like, "Hey, we love Barrio. We'd love to bring it to New Mexico." And I was like, "No way." And then I went and met
Sick.
them, and we met them, and they were this super nice family. They picked a restaurant where I was like, they probably are doing okay. And we just sat down and talked to them. Like, we want to set up a family business. And they watched everything go down with Barrio, all the flames, everything like that. And they basically like, what are you guys doing next? We were like, I guess we'll try and do this shit again. And they were like, great, like we'll fund you. And that is basically the kind of luck you have to start
Yep.
a cannabis company right now, because the infrastructure in the state of Arizona, like, dude, we're paying 40K in rent at our building. So there's 40K out the door there.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's 40K. That does not include your water, doesn't include your power.
yeah. All of which, folks, you can't write off. Just throwing
Right.
that out
To be
there.
very clear, we're not writing any of this shit off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, then you've got some really other, interesting things. Like, so in the state of Arizona, there's no regulation that clarifies whether or not, like, where cannabis, if there's a hub or not. That's up to the individual MSO. So if you've got a place with, like, call it 15 doors, and their doors are all over the state, who's paying for
Yep.
that gas? Like, you fucking are. Like, so
Yep.
unless they have a hub, like, you're doing it. So there's just like, and again, I don't want to like, I just think, like, again, like, when you think about all the costs that you have to come up with if you're a co-founder, like, I may be in marketing, but I think marketing should always have a seat at the table when it comes, or at least like a CRO or somebody should have a seat at the table if you're in a startup, and being like, hey, like, I know that we have to pay for people to fucking put food on the table, but how are we going to market this company? I think it's super
Right.
important people understand how brutal it is right now, because no bank's going to touch you. So many investors have been burned. It's just really difficult, to really get a brand going right now. And it is unique, dude. You brought it up on the top of the show. Like, it is unique. We do have, like, we're like, one of our new messages right now is, the truth is, like, we're the last of a dying breed. Like, we've watched like 4 companies go under in the last 4 months. But if the community values, like, premium indoor cannabis, like, we'll find out and we'll survive, right? Like, we will FAFO.
Yeah. Well, the thing also that I think plays a really important role in terms of, and people often talk about consumer education.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that's important. I think people understanding how cannabis works is necessary. But I think, similar to what you were saying, on like a day-to-day basis, people who consume cannabis really don't have any idea about the production process, the risks that are inherently involved. When I was living in Rhode Island, shout out Bonsai Buds. I was working with a cultivation facility out there, and grew the most beautiful weed. These guys, I mean, they taught me everything I know about cultivation. I couldn't thank them enough. But the one season, essentially, one of our cycles got hit, and we had to take down 3 rooms full of PM ridden
Oh,
flower.
fuck.
And once you see it on the plants, it's everywhere already. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
they refuse to sell that, which I respect the shit out of. But I watched over $500,000 in inventory go away just like that. And they were getting like around 1,600 on a pound. So, like, I watched 3 rooms that were probably holding around 150 plus pounds each go up 2 weeks before their harvest date. You know what I mean? So,
Dude, and
like,
it's so hard too, dude. I mean, because, like, you respect the hell out of them, but then you look at, like, your P&L and you're like, oh fuck. Like, like, in the end, like, no, the number one priority is fucking making payroll. I mean,
yes.
here's a Sophie's choice for you. Like, if you're an operator in Arizona, like, okay, do I want to rent rooms from somebody, and who's like a landlord to me, and then because they could be a separate entity from your license holder as well. So now you have
Yep.
2 lords and masters who can fuck with you. Like, do you want to try and, like, take on a lease? Do you want to lease individual rooms? Like, all of these complications, like, to your point, where you could be fucked if you're in shared space, dude. And this happened to us, and you have PM, like, if someone fucks up their room next to you, like, you're fucked. And again, those risks are so crazy high.
And that is, I mean, I didn't even think of factoring that in, right? Because when,
Yeah.
they had an investor who helped them build the facility from scratch and all this stuff, I can't even imagine a shared space where you have to sit there and go, we need to establish baseline cleanliness practices because I can't have you guys fucking up our products, because that's a real
And I think,
reality. And people don't have hold the same standards that you have,
no, no. And I think, honestly, dude, when I look at the international space and compare it to the US, like, they have some cool shit that may go sideways. But I'll give you an example. So in Germany, right, where I've spent some time, hopefully Cult Berlin one day, like they're doing these kind of like, these guys are going out and buying a bunch of land for these social clubs, right? So a social club would be like you and I, we can have 500 members each. We're technically competitors. What they're doing is they're basically creating like incubators for brands. They like, because you can only grow so much per the law, but there's these massive facilities that are coming up where people can go and grow kind of on one premises. And that's fucking awesome, because I'll tell you what, like as much as like over a beer, I'll tell you some stories about our past landlord. Like I will say one thing, which is like,
I heard
look,
some of them. I
yeah,
heard
no,
some
I
of them
know
from
you have.
Justin.
Yeah, that's probably a podcast for a different day, but or a podcast for 25 days. But like long story short, like having that incubator process where like people are willing to share rooms with you, I can tell you, dude, I don't know how else you launch a brand anymore. I don't know how you do it, because there's no world where
Just
you're going to
pure
find
capital wise.
yeah, because again, because you think about it like this, right? Here's the reality, right? If I pay all in, if I get 3 rooms, right, 300 light rooms or whatever it is, I'm just making some shit up, and they're around like 32,000 each. Like I can slowly scale if he lets me take on more rooms. Versus if I go and take on a building, like it better be fucking small, and I better still have some capital, because if you're taking on 700 lighters, like you're already fucked. Like if you come to me like, hey man, I'm starting a brand, I'm taking on 700 lights, I'd be like, cool, like when are we having drinks for the fucking bankruptcy? Like it's just, there is no easy pathway anymore for brands, dude, and that's really sad. Like either you're parachuting in from California, which whatever, like it is what it is, or it's just really really fucking hard to do unless you can find a place where, I mean, dude, to raise capital right now, you're gonna need a friends and family minimum of like $4 to $5 million, that just to get off the ground. And because they're, again, we don't have access to fucking banks. I don't have, when I do my marketing, I guess that is theoretically the topic of this podcast. We've bounced around, but like, like I don't, there's a bunch of shit that I can't do. So you have to get, super fucking creative. But the capital, everything in our business right now comes down to 2 fucking factors: capital and hustle. And like, if you don't have one of them, you are utterly fucked.
God bless. And I mean, if you only have capital and no hustle, you're going to turn $10 million into $1 million super quick.
Yeah. And if you have hustle, like, and you can demonstrate it at a micro scale, I do think there's that kind of way where you go find some guy who's willing to rent you a room. I do think those possibilities exist. But to the extent that, again, here's another one, dude, like getting into a dispensary from a marketing perspective. Like I was just doing a deck for a buddy of mine. Like no one talks about that stuff. Like, do people know how hard it is to get into a dispensary these days? Like, I'm not going to name names, but like we went into a meeting with a dispensary chain that everybody knows, and they basically were like, "Hey, we are literally removing one of your competitors, so you are taking their spot." So that kind of sucks, like, because they just kind of keep everybody who's independent. Oops, sorry, they keep everybody who's independent in one fucking thing. So now you feel shitty because you've taken away their livelihood. Then they're like, you have 1 quarter, we'll have 1 meeting with you, and then you have another quarter, and if you're not hitting our fucking milestones, you're toast. And that's and to get into a dispensary, that had taken me 4 months to get in there.
That's what I was about to say. How much outreach and how many touch points is really like the question, because we've done this. Like running sales is like it's a game of consistency and persistence. How long did that take? Like within those 4 months, like what had to be done? Did you have to show up at the office with a box of donuts? Like,
dude, you got it. Dude, I love that you absolutely get it. Like, so, first off, honestly, like, and here's a really hard thing for new brands too. It's like chicken and egg. Like, you're launching a brand. Well, on the one hand, they're going to want flour. On the other hand, it's fucking illegal for you to have flour. So there's a tough one. And so, and I hope your viewers get that, right? It's basically, you really cannot be delivering anything in the state unless there's traceability to a facility that exists. The problem with that is, as you're trying to scale, that's brutal, because where are you going to grow? But exactly. You're right. Like, so over 4 months, probably 100 different times of touch points, text, email. I do some cool shit that I think I like a lot. Like when I send out my menu for Cult every week, like I run it through Klaviyo, so I know who opens it, how many people open it. And that was a good idea from the get-go, just to be able to be like, because I would find places I wasn't in, and see who was opening them. Well, that's fucking gold mine of data for where I might want to focus my time. There's still an operator out here that has 16 doors that I'm trying to get into, but I know that they're opening my emails. I know that they're interested.
And that means they
what I,
care, you know?
yeah, exactly. But dude, to answer your point, it is super difficult getting into dispensary. You honestly have to know someone who's done it before. It's almost like fucking ancient times of them passing on the sit down, son. When you want to go into a dispensary, here are the it's because it's so new. There is no fucking roadmap. I mean, it is a lot of just, later today, I'm gonna roll out and go drop by a dispensary that we're in, just say hi, and like just keeping up those relationships, because if you don't, you're kind of doomed.
And honestly, like, one, cannabis in general, I think, operates heavily off of relationships, especially at the stage that the market's in now. We don't
Yeah.
have such a massive industry to where, I'll use tech as an example just because it's clearly like the mainline industry of America. But like the good part about tech is that if you and I start a product or a service or whatever, I can scream to a million people and not even begin to touch the surface of who the potential leads that exist are. Within
Yeah.
cannabis, you have a very small pocket of leads that you can go after with things. And maybe those people change around their job titles. So then there might be a new person that's in like the procurement department at a dispensary or something. But for the most part, you have to sharpen your sword, and like when you take your strike, you have to strike with pure accuracy and precision. There is no other way to go about it. So like creativity has to be on high, precision, accuracy, all of these things have to be like teed up, which I think is a really honestly the coolest part about Cult. I like, when we were having discussions about stuff, my mind was rolling with different ways to get penetration into dispensaries, because you can drop off like a briefcase that like you open it up and it's like the like think Pulp Fiction, where like the gold kind of like comes out and everything, and it's some flower jars and edibles and vapes, what have you. But like the ways that you have to be strategic, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make, right?
Yeah.
It isn't a matter of spray and pray. You can't just BDR brute force your way into doors. You have to take a calculated approach to say, how do I build a relationship with these people? How do I show them that we're building something real? And how do I invite them in on the universe that we're creating?
Yeah, and dude, another point, like I think everything that you said is strategically dead on. But here's another fucking factor for you, another hard choice, which is like you might have an easier time going after the mom and pop dispensaries to the extent that they exist, and by that I mean one or two doors per, right, per
Yep.
dispensary. But the flip side of that coin is, there's only so many of those left, and at a certain point, you got to take your swing at some of the big boys. And God forbid you if you fuck that up, because if
Yep.
you fuck up again, I think, by the way, like I will share with, to the extent that there's anyone on this fucking video listening about how to go about it, like, you need a deck, you need samples, you need upside for them from a marketing perspective, because they don't, the biggest open secret is, and I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this because I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
Go for
like
it.
to a certain extent, like MSOs don't really want you to succeed. Like
For
they
sure.
will have you on the shelves, but the prevailing attitude, and this is not everyone, I will say this is not everyone, but the prevailing attitude from the big corporate headquarters is like, we have shitty house flower and we need to move it. And
Yes.
so, we've got to move it at all costs because it's mids, and we're growing way too much of it. We overbought.
Mhm.
And my response always has been back to them is like, you will make more money with me. You will make more money with me. You will sell for a higher price. Like we should not be in any way, shape adversarial. And I think
Yeah,
for the most part, the people who are locally, even the ones that are representing the MSOs, they get it, but they're restrained by the corporate policy from whatever state that comes from, right?
for
Um,
sure.
and so
And
like
they're
I
trying
think
to
like,
beef up margin, by
yeah,
shoving house brands down people's throat. But
of
ultimately,
course.
that kills the perception of that place's brand in consumers' eyes. And
Well,
so,
dude,
from a lifetime value perspective, you're demolishing yourself with your consumers, versus if you're partnering with people who care about quality, you're inherently saying, oh, I go to XYZ store because they know how to stock.
yeah, and I think the other big thing too that cracks me the fuck up is that like if you go to one of the MSOs and you look at like their call it like their 7 gram Mylars or whatever, or their 14 gram Mylars, dude, you look at some brands and be like, oh, where's that from? I don't recognize that name, or you'll be like, that name resonates. And what you realize is like the MSOs are just carrying each other's shitty 14 gram Mylars, which doesn't make any sense unless you realize it's kind of probably for an accounting reason of like, oh, I moved this weight here, I took some of this weight here. And again, who is the ultimate loser in that? My argument would be it's the consumer, because I
Agreed.
offer a 14 gram Mylar and my price is higher, which is better for the end dispensary. They all want their
Yep.
basket sizes to go up. So look,
Yes.
I think I want to be clear. Like, it is not everyone in the MSOs. We have some lovely relationships with MSOs, but there is a prevailing thought there that it's like they, in the end, if Cult is a graveyard, like they don't shed any fucking tears. Like, and what really is important for people to know is when they think about these independent brands, why should I spend $5 extra? Like, for an independent brand, which is number one, like just because, we're not an MSO, we're not based in fucking picking a state at random. We're not based in New York or wherever. We're locals. We're hiring locally. We employ locally, but we are trying to raise the bar so that at a certain point, when mids fail, the bar that we've set will at least push it upward slightly. Because if it's just a race to the bottom, then we already know how that goes. Like, you're gonna end up with a bunch of fucking popcorn. And if that's what Arizona wants, like it's already a dry heat, let's fucking get drier, I suppose. So, and sorry, I did have one other point to make about that, dude. So one other thing for you to know is from a marketing thing, because I should be talking about marketing. The expectation.
Talk about all of it, dude. Talk about all of it.
Yeah. But just so people understand, like, do you think that an MSO wants to give me any money to help move my product in their store where they make money? Fuck and no. Like, or any dispensary, they look at me and they go, everything's on you. We got our own problems. We got our own house brands to move. So it's kind of like there is this world that exists where you are, as an independent, you are getting punched from 47 different directions. And the more successful you get, arguably the more complex it gets. Like, dude, this managing fucking 10 doors versus managing 55 doors. And God forbid if anyone feels slighted that, you're not paying enough attention to them. It's really, really fucking hard.
And it's difficult and this is again, another giving you guys your flowers at Cult thing, because I don't think people, like you said, people don't understand what it takes to manage a large amount of doors and to not exactly have the infrastructure in place to be able to white glove service all of those, right? Because what you want from an ideal perspective is that every store feels like they're loved and cared for by our brands. But the reality of the situation is, we're X amount of guys trying to make this work. We're trying to give you guys great quality product. We're trying to move it, and we're trying to establish, develop, and keep relationships with y'all while doing all of this. And like, it's only so much for a couple people to handle. And then on top of that, with the costs that we're facing, the amount that we have to run around the state, it's hard for us to staff people on top of that. So it's like these mounting challenges where you go, grow, but don't grow too much in certain ways. Grow only in the ways that you can, and not in the ways that you need. And that, like, I don't know, I get so much respect for you guys on that, because that is such a difficult challenge to face.
That is extremely well said, the way that you put it. Nothing would make me happier than, like, I got a fucking text before we went on about being like, yo, we're short on jars. Can you drive them from one of the 3 facilities that we're operating into the other one? Like, I would love to have more time to go visit the dispensaries, especially where, like, I know that those bud tenders are out there, like, because they get the vision and they do want to support independent cannabis, and they don't want to see it be a bunch of fucking, 4 companies playing inventory swap on mids. Like, they want that, right? And you want to go reward them. And I hope if anyone are listening, like, dude, I wish I had more time to do it. But like the reality, dude, is that, like, with how high costs are, you have some very tough decisions to make. Like, I can't tell you the last time I sat down with Justin and he was like, congratulations, you have like $200 more to spend on marketing. And I can tell you, because it's never fucking happened. So, like, and we've been in, and I will say, like, just for context for some of these viewers who are probably like, dude, what hell is this guy living in? So we've been around since October. So we are firmly in that startup mode, and we have gone from 0 doors to, on Friday, we will add about our like 58th door. So we have definitely done that. But to your point, dude, like, you have to make that choice. Do I hire someone who's a weed snob who can really speak intelligently to every bud tender, and to go and essentially be a rep? Do I try and handle it with the founders, of which there's 3 of us left? And you look at the numbers and you're looking like, well, shit, I'm already 65K hard costs that are already gone. Like, they're just gone.
That's first of the month. Yeah.
First of the month, out the door, gone. So it's just, it is a very delicate thing to navigate. And I think for all those people who are like on Reddit and wonder, like, oh man, like, it feels like Cult doesn't pay enough attention to this, or to that. It's like, dude, we want to, and we will again, hopefully. But when you are trying to navigate Arizona where it's at, we're literally, like, all of us independent guys are running in a hill like fucking Mel Gibson Revolutionary War movie, and people are just falling left and right next to you. Like,
Yeah.
you are looking as dead ahead as hard as you can.
You're focused on survival, you know?
Exactly.
Like, shout out The
Thank you.
Patriot. Great movie.
Yeah. I almost got there. Yeah. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. And again, I'm glad that you didn't have us nailed down to talk about flowery marketing stuff, because I get pitched cool shit all the time. But I will echo something that is super, super important for anyone who's in marketing right now. If you are not clued into your operating expenses as someone in marketing, you are doing your company a fucking disservice. Because if you don't know why it is that your CEO is like, hey, I don't have money for that spend you wanted on XYZ or this or that, and you're off harumphing in the corner, like, I'm lucky. My vantage point gives me that, like, I'm very clued into like why I have no money to spend on cool shit.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's super important. Like, and I think it's really important for people to know why hiring blows, or like why there are so few chairs right now. Like, we are in the midst of a correction, and like there's a lot of different topics we can get into about why that correction came or whatever, but it is not over. And so if you're gonna make it, like every day you wake up is, how can I lower my OpEx? And if your technology that you're trying to pitch me, and I'm sure you get this too, dude, like pitches on 5, 10, 20 things a week, like if you're not showing me how the ROI vastly exceeds the fucking OpEx, I don't have fucking time for you.
Okay, so I will just take a small slice from this just to say, I think all salespeople need to hear this. Truly, genuinely. When it comes to cannabis, there's two things that matter. It's relationship building and bottom line. Because we are at such a place where everyone is so stressed, everyone is bleeding out in terms of the money that they have, the capital expenditure. You just said it. First day of the month, 65K out the door. Your job as a salesperson who approaches Greg and says, hey, we're trying to make your grow better, is to sit there and go, you're spending, let's guess it's X amount. We're going to reduce that spend either to 0.5 of that amount, or we're going to end up putting your ROI on a 3x amount from what that initial investment is, because that's the thing that matters to Greg. It's going to be what actually the efficacy of the approach that you're bringing, why it's working, and how it's helping the bottom line. Because as you can see, him and Justin are sitting here treading water trying to make magic happen. So it's like the importance and the empathy that a salesperson has to approach people with. And we saw it all the time at Grow Glide. Like a big part of our pitch was ROI based marketing. That was like a massive part. We set up a page where people could, the room generator was ill for the simple fact that people could put in how many tiers they wanted, what the square footage of their room was, how much was available for growing, and then say, what is the pound per price in your market? Boom, you immediately get something back that says, this is what it is. And I don't know, it is, I think we're in a place where you have so many companies who are trying to bring innovative new approaches, fresh perspectives, so to say, to cannabis, that they don't understand the bare bones of the whole situation is helping people in a financial need right now, to be honest, because there's no, unless you guys get infused with a massive amount of cash, or you get a licensing play from Germany or an offer to expand the market in New York or something like that, no one's coming to save anyone. It is up to you guys to pull yourself up, and that is a fucking Herculean task. So like,
and I think
again,
the other thing, if you take private money, dude, like every day you wake up, you should be thinking about, how am I going to get these fucking people paid back? Like, that's it.
Yes.
Like, if that's the route you go, and that's the route that we went. So our job is, first and foremost, get our investors' money the fuck back. And every time that we do something, we have to think long and hard about, like, is this something we really need or want? Like, nothing would make me happier than to take on some of the cool tech that I see at some of these shows I go to. But I think the mistake people make is, like, they think that we're still in the market of 10 years ago, and people just want tech for the tech of sec, like the sake of tech. Like, fuck and no. Like if you are not reducing my OpEx as an independent operator, like, I don't even think I'm gonna. I can tell you for certainty, I'm not responding to the email or the LinkedIn message, wherever the fuck else you find me. Like, I think you get it, dude. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's like,
Well, I've done it, man. You know, I've
yeah,
done this a couple
exactly.
times across a couple different companies. I've
Yeah,
spoken to the Gregs where I go
yeah,
ahead and I say, "Hey, buy this product from me, and I swear it will make your life easier." And they go, "But how much easier? Because I need a guarantee on this."
right, right.
It's
I
rough.
need to, at least in this market, dude, there has to be, and again, one man's opinion. I'm not picking up the phone unless I'm thinking that you can knock down my expenses at this point, or you have some secret sauce that can amplify my voice in a way that I haven't considered. Because trust me,
Mhm.
I've heard all the pitches about how, oh, we get it, you know, you can't do Instagram, but here's this or that. We'll put a fucking token in someone's wallet, or someone will catch an ad while they're peeing, and it's like, I'm down, dude. I'm down. But keep in mind, like, when you're out 65K out the door, like, you know, someone come to me like, cool, it's a quick 20K spend. And I'm like, a quick 20K spend? Like, let's be
Spoken
real,
like
man.
somebody who has not balanced a budget before.
Right. Yeah, like, dude, like, let's get fucking real here. Like, yeah, it's just I think, and I think that there's still a lot of that nonsense out there where people believe that we're in this market that we're not fucking in. Like,
Mhm.
if we're being honest, like, all of us, what we're really trying to do, is we're in a canoe right now, and, like, you know, there's only a little bit of water left for a few more people, and we are either going to be those people who fucking get up on dry land, or we'll be the ones that catch it. And with the idea that, like, corrections will end, and either, again,
For
like,
sure.
either Colt's right and people want great fucking authentic Arizona cannabis, or we're wrong and we had a good time working with people that we like, right? And
Yep.
ideally we've given our investors their money back, and we all say that was fucking fun. Let's never do that
And that is why I appreciate the shit out of you, man, because regardless of however shit goes, you're always down to say, well, wasn't that fucking crazy? You know,
again.
which I
Dude,
love.
if only people knew, the journeys, man. I mean, look, that's there. I tell people, when, like, we do rarely, when we are hiring, you know, I'll be like, you know, startups are not for everyone. Cannabis
For
is
sure.
not for everyone. There is a stark difference between someone who likes marketing and likes cannabis, and someone who wants to do cannabis marketing. Those people are not the same.
Yes.
Like,
At
startup
all.
environment is fucking hard, dude. And I think, again, we really do ourselves a disservice when we don't, like, because we all like to post about fucking, I'm guilty of it too. I was at a Berlin trade show, blah blah blah. Like, but you know what I don't post about is, like, you know, fucking, like, you know, drive. I shit you not, dude. I'll send you this image. I was in fucking Justin's SUV with like 60 pounds of trim,
Oh,
like,
I saw it. I
filtering.
saw you
Did you
post
see
that the
that?
other day. It was, you were like,
Yeah,
this
I
is
don't
half
know.
of it.
Yeah, like, I was like, and I like and, like, sweating bullets because a cop pulled up behind me, and, like, you know, even though it was completely legal, completely above board for everyone at AZ,
Yeah,
DHS,
those
and
old muscles kick in though.
yeah, but you just freak the fuck out. Or you're sitting there doing two over, like, oh, like, and, you know, we don't post about that, but you know why we did that? To be clear, is, you know, one of the big open secrets in cannabis, dispensaries don't pay their bills. So all of a sudden it became imperative that I get that trim and, you know, that bulk moved. Why? Because we get COD, or we get better
Yeah.
terms. Like,
Yep.
and
And
again,
that's
is this
money
marketing?
now. That's not money
Yeah,
later.
is this marketing? No, but it's fucking real. And if you want to get into this game, like, I think all this is so important for people to hear. Like, I can go back to all my corporate buzzwords with the best of them about fucking brand stories and voice and all this shit. But, like, in reality, like, what you and I went through at Grow Glide, and what people, if they're trying to sign up for this business, will go through, there are good times, there are great times, but you better be able to scrape. Like, you better be able to hustle. You better be able to take a fucking SUV from Tucson to Phoenix with 60 pounds of trim to a fucking sketchy ass parking lot where you're looking for a fucking sweet 102. Like, I mean, it's just like, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
No, I get it, man. I mean, you gotta find a way to make good lemonade out of fucking 3-week-old lemons, dude. It is a difficult industry, man. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
it is
and
beyond
you better
difficult.
be, yeah, where, you know, Nigel's worn 45 different hats, right? And that's the cool thing. Like, I think if it all fell apart tomorrow, the one upside to being in this business is that, like, we're not, like, I've gotten letters threatening, fucking lawyer letters. You know, done deliveries. I've fought with people. Like I've done branding. I've done sales. I've done marketing. I've started 3 companies. I've traveled the world, and, like, those are all things I'm super grateful for. But I think I don't want anyone to leave here being like, wow, that guy Greg is super downer. I'm not. I think if you come in with the right attitude, you can do great things. Like, you're proof of it.
Totally.
But I do think
Oh,
that we
thank you.
do need to start thinking about collectively as an industry, like, how do we start a little bit more elevating the reality of what goes on, with the idea that, like, it shouldn't have to be like this, right? Like, regulations can change, like how we conduct business can change. Like, dispensaries don't have to screw people over. Like, they don't. Like, they don't
I
have to
agree.
not pay. Like so I think one of the things that I think a lot about, and I don't have all the answers, is about, like, what can I do so that I stop bitching about that and start impacting it? And I think some of the answers lie in being a little bit more transparent and taking away a little bit of the mystique of Cult, which, like, again, maybe that hurts us a little bit, but maybe it helps the industry in the long run.
My God's honest truth is that I think it will only embolden your consumer base more. I think, all of the brands that I follow heavily kind of fall into two buckets. It's either like um ALD, or the like streetwear brands that have this like
Yeah.
really curated, crazy left field marketing strategy, or it's these people who I literally see day in and day out, like pressing teas, doing the work, like showing the not so sexy parts, like what it means to do fulfillment in a warehouse, things like that. Like, I love being on the behind the scenes, quote unquote, aspect of a brand story. And I think that would only help you guys, because, and though,
Yeah.
I know it's difficult with content restrictions to be able to be like, this is how we chop plants down, or things like that, or this is how it
Yeah.
feels to deliver, 70 pounds of weed across Arizona. But I think it is one of those things where it uh it puts hooks into your consumer base to where they feel like they're on the team, which is a really
Yeah.
important thing.
And I should add, like, because I have no idea when this goes up, but, like, depending on when this goes up, we are talking with a company that's slightly interested in doing, like, a docu series. And again, when you have no money, to have a company that would want to do that for you is huge. So you can kind
Yeah.
of imagine, with my influence on that, Nigel, that you and I are kindred spirits, and that I'm going to be going for fucking full transparency. Like, say whatever you want,
Yes.
cultivator. Say whatever you want, delivery driver. Like, worst case
Yeah.
scenario, I'll have them bleep it out in the edit. But, like, and again, I think that, like, that's kind of where my head's at. And I don't want to talk about it until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, but, like, that is something
Hmm.
for Cole, I think, to your point, would be superb.
Yeah. I Yeah, between the brand image and you guys as people, not even cannabis people or anything else, just how you and Justin are, I I think you guys have the ability to David the shit out of some Goliaths, Like, I really do. I think, like, there's like a lot of power there. Um yeah, it is even if, like, even if you guys were to choose to go and make like a hemp brand, or if you guys were to choose and go and do a clothing brand that was adjacent with it, I wear my hat and my shirt out so much that at my gym, when I'm out at Whole Foods, you name it, dude, like, people will stop and just go, I like the shirt. And I go, oh yeah, it's a friend's cannabis company out of Arizona, blah blah blah. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah. And I'm like, people, it's like, people are approaching it like it's like a almost like a streetwear type of deal. I think there's any amount of creativity that you guys infuse and take this brand is like one that's going to be in a good direction.
Oh man, well, I appreciate it, dude. Thank you very much. And like I said,
Yeah, of
we're
course.
gonna we're gonna get there. I just saw that it looks like Braden was telling us that this is going out on the 4th.
July 4th, or
Yeah, so
is it
by then
July?
I'll
Yeah,
know.
July
Like,
4th.
yeah, so I'll know if you head up on the Cult IG, I'll know about that docu series. And if it doesn't run, then I'll just fucking do it myself. I guess just with my phone, I'll run around, just annoy the
I
fuck
was
out of
about to say,
people.
dude, look, I bought a camera a couple months ago. So you say the word and I'll head out Arizona way and we can
Dude, I
make a
love it. Yeah,
documentary.
come here in the middle of summer. You'll love me for that. Like at
I
120.
you're the I was talking to Justin about it because you guys get like the hundreds, and in Louisiana we get the 90s, but it's humid versus y'all's dry
Yeah,
heat. And like, I was standing out in like 103 in Phoenix, and I was like, not great, but like not horrific, which
yeah,
was kind of crazy. Like, shade actually helps. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Staying in a pool helps. I mean, but it's not that
yeah,
bad.
that's true.
It's fucking hard to grow weed in, but it's actually, all things considered, like, you can't shovel sunshine. I ain't gonna bitch about it.
Yeah, I feel that. Tell everyone where they can find you, dude. You
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Pulse.
Yeah, so we recently, not unlike Beard Bros, we're graciously given back our fucking Instagram by Mark Zuckerberg. So
Nice.
if you guys go to @follow_Cult_Co, that's all one word, @follow_Cult_Co, because God forbid we have the word cannabis in our title. We are
There
back
it is.
online there. If you want to hit us up on LinkedIn, Cult Cannabis Co., and then our website where we have some beautiful shots of our flower is cultcannabis.co. And for any of you who are watching this and are like, hey, that dude Greg, he doesn't seem busy enough, he should do some consulting with me, I do still do that. I have about 2 to 3 clients on the side. So if you want to hit me up there, that's Maple Creek .consulting. And you can find me there. I do I still do some work in like and it's a different fucking thing, but I'm doing some work in indoor ag, Nigel, and some other stuff with some cannabis equipment vendors and all that too. So anyway, that is it, dude. And thank you, man. That was a fun combo. Flew by.
Yeah, I know, right? It was 55 minutes that went by like that. Greg is a bridge builder of like the highest order. So chances are, if Greg doesn't know someone, he knows somebody who knows someone. He's like pretty much 2 degrees of separation, I'd say, away from anyone in our industry.
Thanks, man.
But
Too
yeah,
kind.
of course, I like had such a good time, man. And you guys can find me on any social at Nigel_Ds. And on LinkedIn, you can find me at Nigel Despinasse. This has been Cannabis Pros and Marketing Masters with the Beard Bros Network. Peace out.